Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at something, kind of a little different.
Yeah, a little more personal reflection this time.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Basically, we're diving into this idea of how our trust in God is kind of tied into the trials we go through in life.
Right. And how those trials can actually lead us closer to Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of seeing those tough times as a sign that God's not there,
Yeah.
it's more like an opportunity to kind of grow that relationship.
To deepen it.
Yeah. So really interesting perspective. And one of the things that these reflections emphasize right off the bat is just how crucial that unwavering trust in God is.
Absolutely. No matter what's going on around you, right? Like sunshine, storms, whatever it is.
Right. Like that's part of this whole divine providence thing, right?
Yeah. It all works together for the good in the end.
And it's interesting because these reflections talk about pushing back against that doubt and that fear.
Yeah, those are like the big obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something everyone struggles with. But there's this one image that really stood out to me. It talks about how even fierce winds obey God. What do you make of that?
Well, to me, it speaks to just this incredible power that God has, right? Like, even when your life feels totally chaotic and out of control, there's this deeper order at play.
Right, like someone's still in charge.
Exactly.
It's not just random.
No, and I think that can be really comforting in those tough times.
Absolutely. And another thing these reflections really focus on is acknowledging all the good stuff in your life.
Oh, for sure. Like, really taking the time to be grateful for all those blessings.
They're not just when things are easy, right?
Right? It's easy to be thankful when everything's going your way.
Yeah.
But the real challenge is maintaining that gratitude and living that obedient life even when things are rough.
Yeah. Because it's all a gift in the end, right?
It is. It's all from God.
And that's where this whole idea about trials gets even more interesting.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get deep.
Because these reflections suggest that those trials, those hardships, they're not actually a sign of God's absence.
Right. They're not punishment.
Mm.
It's the opposite, really.
It's like an invitation almost.
It is. It's an invitation to draw closer to Jesus.
Like you said earlier, to deepen that connection.
Exactly. Because when you're going through something difficult, you naturally turn to him for support.
So it's like instead of viewing suffering as this awful thing, it's more like a pathway to becoming more like Jesus.
I think that's a really helpful way to look at it.
Because these reflections talk about being molded into the image of Christ.
Yeah, beautiful imagery.
Isn't it? And learning to rely on God's love in those moments when you need it most.
Absolutely. Because his love never fails.
It's constant.
It is, no matter what.
And that kind of ties into this whole concept of being a surrendered servant.
Oh yeah, a big theme here.
These reflections talk about letting go of pride.
Fear, doubt, all that stuff.
And really embracing humility and being willing to follow God's will.
Even when it doesn't make sense to you.
Even when it's hard.
Right, because you got to trust that he knows better.
And there's that phrase, right?
Oh, yeah.
That my will, but yours be done.
Powerful stuff.
It's like the ultimate act of surrender.
I think so.
And it's all about walking by faith, not by sight.
Right. Trusting in God's plan, even when you can't see the whole picture.
And there's this analogy that they use in these reflections that I really like.
Oh, what's that?
It's about a potter shaping clay.
I love that one.
It's like you're the clay,
Yeah.
and God's the potter.
And he's molding you.
Into something beautiful.
Even if it's a little uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, well, I guess that's part of the process, right?
I think so.
And finally, these reflections touch on this idea of joyful obedience.
Yeah. This is important.
Because it's not just about following the rules out of obligation or fear.
No, it's about doing it with your whole heart.
With joy, with faith, with love.
Right. It should feel like a privilege.
Not a burden.
Exactly. Because when you truly love God, obedience becomes this natural expression of that love.
And it leads to that freedom and peace and hope.
Right. It's not about restriction. It's about liberation.
So I think the big takeaway here is that the trials, we go through those tough times, they're not actually roadblocks.
No.
They're pathways.
Yeah.
Leading us to a deeper connection with Jesus.
And that's through that unwavering trust.
And surrender to God's plan.
Even when it's hard, even when we don't understand.
And that's really the challenge for all of us, isn't it?
It is, to remember that even in those dark moments, God is right there with us.
So as you go about your week, think about how your perspective might shift if you start seeing those challenges.
Yeah.
Not as obstacles, but as opportunities to draw closer to Jesus.
And to cultivate that joyful obedience.
Trusting in God's love and purpose in every situation.
Because no matter what, He's got you.
And on that note, we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.
See you then.